Let's get a view from the other side of the aisle. Rhode Island Senator Jack Reed is ranking member of the Senate Armed Services Committee. He joins us now live. Senator, thanks for being here. I want to start with what Chairman Nunes, I asked him, your thoughts about the safety here in the U.S. 15 years after 9/11.
Well, I think institutionally the stovepiping which characterized the pre-9/11 intelligence has been fortunately changed. There's a much more coordinated effort institutionally through James Clapper, General Clapper. There's a coordinated effort to bring all the intelligence together, not just the military intelligence, but also FBI, et cetera. That is a step forward. I think, though, as reflected in Devin's comments, what we're seeing is a much more sophisticated threat. Our adversaries have also evolved, and so we are in a very difficult, challenging environment. But the one very positive aspect is we're much more coordinated in terms of our intelligence efforts today in the United States.
Do you think the extremists, the Islamic extremist groups have expanded exponentially around the world?
I think they have expanded in the sense that Al-Qaeda was a very self-contained hierarchical organization. They were bent on a spectacular attack, as we are commemorating sadly today at 9/11. You have a different approach with ISIL particularly, which wants to dominate territory, which wants to have a governmental function, which also has a very effective, and one we have to combat more effectively, information campaign to influence people way beyond their actual physical control. So we're looking at an expansive effort geographically and also in terms of cyber particularly, and that requires us to double down our efforts to coordinate and to counteract these terrorists that threaten. And as Devin also suggests, the threat is probably more critical in Europe because of many factors, not only their sophistication, but also the refugees that are flowing there.
So when you see polls, we just had a poll, our most recent poll, and asked, is the U.S. safer today than before 9/11? And 54% said less safe. You know, do you understand that feeling? Do you hear it in Rhode Island?
Oh, absolutely. I think what it reflects is, first, that even though we have taken steps to improve our intelligence gathering, even though we've been able to thwart a major terrorist incident in the United States, the fact that San Bernardino happened, the fact that there are incidents in Paris, that all goes to the public confidence. And again, you can't discount that. But you know, we have to every day, working not only in the Congress but with the administration, with all our agencies of government, continue to build on more coordination, more anticipation, and focus on degrading as fast as we can these terrorist networks.
Yeah, as you know, there are many, and it's election season, there are many Republicans critical of the administration's efforts on this front. One of them is former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani. Take a listen.
They're not going away. We didn't take bin Laden seriously in '97 and '98 when he declared war against us. If we don't take this seriously, and we're not taking it seriously enough right now, we're going to be in for a terrible, terrible time.
How do you respond to that?
Well, first of all, President Clinton launched an attack against bin Laden with munitions in Afghanistan. Unfortunately, we didn't get him. What happened, I think, though, is that in 2001, when President Bush came aboard, even with the urging of people like Richard Clark, the expert on counterterrorism, of the threat, that was not their top priority. Their top priority, as I witnessed it from the Senate, was a national missile defense, which is important, but it clearly was not the counterterrorism that you would expect, given the incidents that had already taken place, the embassy attack in Kenya and other incidents. Yeah. But the Clinton administration, it's often forgotten, physically tried to strike at bin Laden and take him out.
What about Chairman Nunes when he's talking about the bin Laden documents? Why has it taken so long to expedite and go through all of that treasure trove of intelligence, as Tom Donilon said back then?
Well, I think, first of all, there's the obvious concern about sources and methods. And this is, I know it's repeated, but it's very important to the intelligence community. They do not want to either deliberately or inadvertently give clues to the other side about what they're looking at, what they found. That is, I think, the predominant reason that the information is slow coming. As the chairman pointed out, though, it is the responsibility of Congress to get that information and the obligation of the administration. And again, I think that the administration should be prompt in delivering information, and we have the responsibility of ensuring it's held closely, it's not divulged, that we do not want to be implicated in giving the other side, our adversaries, any clues as to what we're up to.
Senator, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about the story that dominated a lot of today, and that is Hillary Clinton at the 9/11 memorial and that piece of videotape, and obviously the questions about her health. Your thoughts about that and these calls that both candidates should release detailed medical records?
Well, I think her doctor was very clear this afternoon, saying that she'd been suffering from a touch of pneumonia, that she'd received antibiotics, that because of the humidity and the heat, in fact, some of my colleagues who were there at the ceremony said it was quite difficult to bear, that she became dehydrated. She seems to be fine now, and she's going to continue her campaign. So I think it's one of these situations where she said it was what happened. I've traveled with her as a senator to very difficult places, Afghanistan, Iraq, and she was somebody that had the endurance and the capacity physically to keep up and, in fact, keep ahead in many cases.
And, Senator, I saw one poll, and it might be a total outlier, that said Rhode Island was close. You buy that?
I don't think so. I think we have a very strong support for Secretary Clinton. It's a place where we have a strong Democratic governor, a strong Democratic delegation, and a lot of popular support. I was at a meeting today of Democrats in Portsmouth, Rhode Island, and there was a lot of enthusiasm for Hillary, and that's just an example of the grassroots support that she enjoys here.
We'll cover it every day. Senator Reid, we appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, Brett, very much.